नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा पुण्यवादी पाश्चादेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री द्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 रामा 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 रामा रामा हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Jayo Gurudev, 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 Jayo Jayo Gurudev, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
हरे कृष्णा। अभी 2 मिनट और कीर्तन कर सकते हैं।
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Jayo Gurudev, 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 Jayo Jayo Gurudev, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
हरे कृष्णा। Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
So let me share my screen and I can show the quiz results. So we are 9 participants in the session and total 5 of the participants have attempted. So top scorer is Atul Prabhu and Anshi Mataji, Anupam Mataji, Nishtha Mataji and Jeet Mataji. So Mataji is leading the way. Out of 5 participants were Matajis. So I request others also to please attend the quiz for day before yesterday. And I have shared the link of the quiz in the chat. You can attempt. It is from Srimad Bhagavatam, first Canto, second chapter, verse number 22 to 26. And today we will continue further. So let us begin. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shubhnavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, verse number 27. So Giraj Prabhu won't be joining for today and for next few days. Prabhuji is traveling. So in the meanwhile, we will try to continue the reading of Srimad Bhagavatam daily. So let us begin. Rajastam, can see the screen? Yeah. Rajastama prakrityaha samashila bhajanti vai pitrabhuta prajesadin shriya ishwarya praje savaha rajo. The mode of passion, tamham, the mode of ignorance, prakritya, of that mentality, samashila, of the same categories, bhajanti, to worship, vai, actually, pitra, the forefathers, bhuta, other living beings, Prajesh Adin, controllers of cosmic administration, Shriya, enrichment, Aishwarya, wealth and power, Praja, progeny, Ipsava, so desiring. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance worship those in the same category, namely the forefathers, other living beings and the demigods who are in charge of cosmic activities. For they are urged by a desire to be materially benefited with women, wealth, power, and progeny. But there is no need to worship demigods of whatsoever category if one is serious about going back to Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita 7.20 and 23, it is clearly said that those who are mad after material enjoyment approach the different demigods for temporary benefits, which are meant for men with poor fund of knowledge. We should never desire to increase the depth of material enjoyment. Material enjoyment should be accepted only up to the point of the bare necessities of life and not more or less than that. To accept more material enjoyment means to bind oneself more and more to the miseries of material existence. More wealth, more women, and false aristocracy are some of the demands of the materially disposed man because he has no information of benefit derived from Vishnu worship. By Vishnu worship, one can derive benefit in this life as well as in life after death. Forgetting these principles, foolish people who are after more wealth, more wives, and more children worship various demigods. The aim of life is to end the miseries of life and not to increase them. For material enjoyment, there is no need to approach the demigods. The demigods are but the servants of the Lord. As such, they are duty bound to supply necessities of life in the form of water, light, air, etc. One should work hard and worship the Supreme Lord by the fruits of one's hard labor for existence, and that should be the motto of life. One should be careful to execute occupational service with faith in God in proper way, and that will lead one gradually on the progressive march back to Godhead. Lord Shri Krishna, when he was personally present at Braj Dham, stopped the worship of the demigod Indra and advised the residents of worship to worship by their business and to have faith in God. Worshipping the multi-demigods for material gains is practically a perversity of religion. This sort of religious activities has been condemned in the very beginning of the Bhagavatam as Kaitva Dharma. You see, in the beginning of Bhagavatam 1.1.2, Srimad Bhagavatam says that Dharma Projita Kaitvotra. So it rejects all kind of religions. For example, Dharma Arth Kama Moksha. There is only one religion in the world to be followed by one and all, and that is the Bhagavad Dharma. or the religion which teaches one to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead and no one else. So we read further. So Anupama Mataji can read. I can recite the shloka. This is a very wonderful shloka actually.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Vasudeve paraveta, Vasudeve paramakha, Vasudeve parayoga, Vasudeve parakriya, Vasudeve param jnanam, Vasudeve param tapah, Vasudeve paro dharma, Vasudeve paragati. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Vasudev, the personality of Godhead. Para, the ultimate goal. Veda, revealed scriptures. Vasudev, the personality of Godhead. Para, for worshipping. Makha, sacrifice. Vasudev, the personality of Godhead. Para, the means of attaining. Yoga, mystic paraphernalia. Vasudev, the personality of Godhead. Para, under his control. Kriya, fruitive activities. Vasudev, the personality of Godhead. Param, the supreme. Jnanam, knowledge. Vasudev, the personality of Godhead. Param, best. Tapa, austerity. Vasudev, the personality of Godhead. Para, superior quality. Dharma, religion. Vasudev, the personality of Godhead. Para, ultimate. Gati, goal of life. Translation. In the revealed scriptures, the ultimate object of knowledge is Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. The purpose of performing sacrifice is to please Him. Yoga is for realizing Him. All fruitive activities are ultimately rewarded by Him only. He is supreme knowledge, and all severe austerities are performed to know Him. Religion, dharma, is rendering loving service unto Him. He is supreme goal of life. Purport. That Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is the only object of worship is confirmed in these two shlokas. In the Vedic literature, there is the same objective, establishing one's relationship and ultimately reviving our most loving service unto Him. That is the sum and substance of the Vedas. In the Bhagavad Gita, the same theory is confirmed by the Lord in His own words. The ultimate purpose of Vedas is to know Him only. All the revealed scriptures are prepared by the Lord through His incarnation in the body of Srila Vyasadeva, just to remind the fallen souls, conditioned by material nature, of Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. No demigods can award freedom from material bondage. That is the verdict of all the Vedic literatures. Impersonalists who have no information of the personality of Godhead minimize the omnipotency of the Supreme Lord and put Him on equal footing with all other living beings. And for this act, such impersonalists get freedom from material bondage only with great difficulty. They can surrender unto Him only after many, many births in the culture of transcendental knowledge. One may.
Just a minute, Mataji. I think Gira Shubha is also here. Hare Krishna Prabhu, would you like to comment anything in the previous shloka or in this shloka?
No, Prabhu. I'm just hearing,
Okay.
just walking to my family. Yes, good. Very good.
Yes, Mataji, continue.
One may argue that the Vedic activities are based on sacrificial ceremonies. That is true. But all such sacrifices are also meant for realizing the truth about Vasudev. Another name of Vasudev is Yajna, sacrifice, and in the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that all the sacrifices and activities are to be conducted for the satisfaction of Yajna or Vishnu, the personality of Godhead. This is the case also with the yoga system. Yoga means to get into touch with Supreme Lord. The process, however, includes several bodily features such as asana, dhyan, pranayam, and meditation, and all of them are meant for concentrating upon the localized aspect of Vasudev represented as Paramatma. Paramatma realization is but partial realization of Vasudev, and if one is successful in that attempt, one realizes Vasudev is full. But by ill luck, most yogis are straitened by power of mysticism achieved through the bodily process. Ill-fated yogis are given a chance in the next birth by being placed in the families of good learned Brahmins or in the families of rich merchants in order to execute the unfinished task of Vasudev realization. If such fortunate Brahmins and son of rich men properly utilize the chance, they can easily realize Vasudev by good association with saintly person. Unfortunately, such preferred persons are captivated again by material wealth and honor. Thus, they practically forget the aim of life. This is also so for the cultural of knowledge. According to Bhagavad Gita, there are 18 items in culturing knowledge. By such culture of knowledge, one becomes gradually prideless, devoid of vanity, non-violent, forbearing, simple, devoted to the great spiritual master, and self-controlled. By culture of knowledge, one becomes unattached to hearth and home and become conscious of the miseries due to death, birth, old age, and disease. And all culture of knowledge culminates in devotional service of the personality of Godhead, Vasudev. Therefore, Vasudev is the ultimate aim in culturing all different branches of knowledge. Culture of knowledge leading one to the transcendental plane of meeting Vasudev is a real knowledge. Physical knowledge in its various branches is condemned in the Bhagavad Gita as jnana, or opposite of real knowledge. The ultimate aim of physical knowledge is to be satisfy the senses, which means prolongation of the term of material existence and thereby continuance of the threefold miseries. So, prolonging the miserable life of material existence is nescience, but the same physical knowledge leading to the way of spiritual understanding help one to end the miserable life of physical existence and to begin the life of spiritual existence on the plane of Vasudev.
Hare
The
Krishna.
same.
Thank you, Mataji. Nidhi Mataji, would you like to read? Continue.
Yes, Prabhuji. The, the same applies to all kinds of austerities. Tapasya means voluntary acceptance of bodily pains to achieve some higher end of life. Ravan and Hiranyakashipu underwent a severe type of bodily torture to achieve the end of sense gratification. Sometimes modern politicians also undergo severe types of austerities to achieve some political end. This is not actually tapasya. One should accept voluntary bodily inconvenience for the sake of knowing Vasudev, because that is the way of real austerities. Otherwise, all forms of austerities are classified as mode of passion and ignorance. Passion and ignorance cannot end the miseries of life. Only the mode of goodness can mitigate the threefold miseries of life. Vasudev and Devaki, the so-called father and mother of Lord Krishna, underwent penances to get Vasudev as their son. Lord Shri Krishna is the father of all living beings. Bhagavad Gita 14.4. Therefore, he is the original living being of all other living beings. He is the original eternal enjoyer amongst all other enjoyers. Therefore, no one can be his begetting father, as the ignorant may think. Lord Shri Krishna agreed to become the son of Vasudev and Devaki upon being pleased with their severe austerities. Therefore, if any austerities have to be done, they must be done to achieve the end of knowledge. Vasudev. Vasudev is the original personality of Godhead Lord Shri Krishna. As explained before, the original personality of Godhead expands himself by innumerable forms. Such expansion of form is made possible by his various energies. His energies are also multifarious, and his internal energies are superior and external energies inferior in quality. They are explained in the Bhagavad Gita 7.46 as the para and apara prakartis. So his expansions of various forms which take place via the internal energies are superior forms, whereas the expansions which take place via the external energies are inferior forms. The living entities are also his expansions. The living entities who are expanded by his internal potency are eternally liberated persons, whereas those who are expanded in terms of the material energies are eternally conditioned souls. Therefore, all culture of knowledge, austerities, sacrifice, and activities should be aimed at changing the quality energy. Therefore, changing the quality of the influence that is acting upon us. For the present, we are all being controlled by the external energy of the Lord. And just to change the quality of the influence, we must endeavor to cultivate spiritual energy. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that those who are Mahatmas or those whose minds have been so broadened as to be engaged in the service of Lord Krishna are under the influence of the internal potency. And that effect is that such broad-minded living beings are constantly engaged in the service of the Lord without deviation. That should be the aim of life, and that is the verdict of all the Vedic literatures. No one should bother himself with fruitive activities or dry speculation about transcendental knowledge. Everyone should at once engage himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Nor should one worship different demigods who work as different hands of the Lords for creation, maintenance, or destruction of the material world. There are innumerable powerful demigods who look over the external management of the material world. They are all different assisting hands of Lord Vasudeva. Even Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma are included in the list of demigods. But Lord Vishnu or Vasudeva is always transcendently situated. Even though he accepts the quality of goodness of the material world, he is still transcendental to all the material modes. The following example will clear that matter more explicitly. In the prison house, there are the prisoners and the managers of the prison house. Both the managers and the prisoners are bound by the law of the king. But even though the king sometimes comes in the prison, he is not bound by the laws of the prison house. The king is therefore always transcendental to the laws of the prison house, as the prison house, there are prison not bound by the laws of the prison house. The king is therefore always transcendental to the laws of the prison house, as the Lord is always transcendental to the laws of the material world.
Thank you, Madhavi.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji. So I just want to say that this is a very wonderful verse और इसको आप जितना पढ़ेंगे इस श्लोक को उतनी हमारी भगवान में और भगवान के प्रति हमारी श्रद्धा है वो बढ़ेगी और आप देखेंगे कि ये जो जितने भी हमारे जो श्लोक हैं आप पाएंगे जितने भी प्रभुपाद के प्रपर्ट्स हैं ये सारे के सारे दे आर ऑलवेज रिपीटिंग द सेम थिंग विल सी कि है ना लगेगा यही तो पढ़ा था अभी 3 श्लोक पहले अब फिर से वो श्लोक वही कह रहा है वही प्रभुपाद कह रहे हैं बिकॉज शास्त्र मीन्स रेपिटेशन हाँ? और हम भगवद गीता में भी सुनते हैं कि जन्म नामन्ते ज्ञानवान माम प्रपद्यते वासुदेव सर्वमिति समात्मा सुदुर्लभ. So we should understand that now we have come to understand कि वासुदेव सर्वमिति, बट हम देखते हैं कि हमें इंफॉर्मेशन तो है पर उसकी रियलाइजेशन नहीं है. We still think there are other things which we need to do other than bhakti, which will give us comfort, peace, security. But we should understand from this wonderful verse that everything and all the paths are given to somehow or other reach Krishna. And we only need to do bhakti properly to get everything. There is nothing else we need to do to feel secure, to feel to get prosperity. Whatever, if we do our bhakti very well, then everything will get like this. और ये श्लोक तो बहुत ही अच्छा श्लोक है, तो इसको हम पढ़ के याद कर सकते हैं. और इसका जो पर्पट भी है इतना अच्छा प्रचार के लिए कि अगर हम प्रचार करना चाहें तो ऐसे कैसे बोल सकते हैं. लास्ट का जो एग्जांपल दिया प्रभुपाद ने कि किस तरह से कि जो किंग है, जो राजा है, वो जेल में आता है, पर जो जेल के कैदी हैं और जो जेल में जो ऑफिसर्स हैं सब लॉ से बंधे हुए हैं, बट जो किंग है he is not bound by material laws. So you can see almost in every chapter Prabhupada gives at least 4 or 5 analogies of Bhagavatam. तो इनको याद कर सकते हैं अपने अंडरस्टैंडिंग के लिए और दूसरों को बताने के लिए. थैंक यू प्रभु. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Prabhu, please keep giving comments.
Okay, Prabhu.
So now we proceed further to the next shloka, 230. Sa evidam sasarjagre bhagavan atma mayaya sad asad rupaya chaso gunamaya guno vibhu. Shivani.
So that Eve certainly idam this sasarcha created agra before Bhagavan, this personality of Godhead, Atma Mayaya by his personal potency, Sat the cause, Asat the effect, Rupaya by form, Cha and Aso the same Lord, Gunmaya in the modes of material nature, Aguna transcendental, Vibhu the absolute. Translation: in the beginning of material creation, that absolute personality of Godhead Vasudev, in his transcendental position, created the energies of cause and effect by his own internal energy. Purport: the position of the Lord is always transcendental because the causal and effectual energies required for the creation of material world were also created by him. He is unaffected. Therefore, by the qualities of material modes, he is unaffected, therefore, by the qualities of material modes. His existence, form, activities, and paraphernalia all existed before the material creations. He is all spiritual and has nothing to do with the qualities of material world, which are qualitatively distinct from the spiritual qualities of the Lord. Should I continue?
Yes.
Taya vilasiteshav eshu guneshu gunvaniva antah pravishta abhyati vijnanena vidrabhitah. Taya, by them, vilasiteshu, although in the function, eshu, these, guneshu, the modes of material nature, gunvan, the affected by the modes, eve, as if, antah, within, pravishtah, entered into, abhyati, appears to be, vijnanena, by the transcendental consciousness, vidrabhitah, fully enlightened.
Hare Krishna. I think Nishna Mataji has also raised the hand, so maybe
Yes.
Nishna Mataji, you can read last 3 minutes.
Okay, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. After creating the material substance, the Lord Vasudeva expands himself and enters into it. And although he is within the material modes of nature and appears to be one of the created beings, he is always fully enlightened in his transcendental position. The living entities are separated parts and parcels of the Lord, and the conditioned living entities who are unfit for the spiritual kingdom are strewn within the material world to enjoy matter to the fullest extent. As Paramatma, an eternal friend of the living entities, the Lord, by one of his plenary portions, accompanies the living entities to guide them in their material enjoyment and to become witness of all the activities. While the living entities enjoy the material conditions, the Lord maintains his transcendental position without being affected by the material atmosphere. In the Vedic literatures, Shruti, it is said that there are two birds in one tree. One of them is eating the fruit of a tree while the other is witnessing the actions. The witness is the Lord, and the fruit eater is the living entity. The fruit eater, living entity, has forgotten his real identity and is overwhelmed in the fruitive activities of the material conditions. But the Lord Paramatma is always full in the transcendental knowledge. That is the difference between the super soul and the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul, the living entity, is controlled by the laws of nature, while the Paramatma or the super soul is the controller of the material energy.
Thank you so much, Mataji. So I think our time is almost over. So, Girash, would you like to comment anything?
ये तो अभी सुपर सोल के ऊपर है ये श्लोक और अगला श्लोक और हमें भगवत गीता का जब भी श्लोक खड़ा करें so we should try coming from. So we know that shloka Udrishta Anumanta cha Bharta Bhut. Like this. So
भी आप पाएंगे कि भागवतम या
Gita. So you will find that what is the message in Bhagavad Gita and what is given in Bhagavatam is same. Rather, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is a condensed form, and in the Bhagavatam, it is an expanded form. और जब आप भगवत गीता के वो पढ़ेंगे purports, so you will find they are coming from the Bhagavatam, like this. So ये हमेशा याद रखना चाहिए कि we can easy way to learn both the shlokas of Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita is to connect this shloka is coming from where in Bhagavad Gita Krishna said like this. So that way our remembrance of Bhagavad Gita and our understanding of Bhagavad Gita, our faith in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam will increase. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Cool. So I think the time is also over. So thank you everyone for attending the session. So we will continue with our sessions tomorrow and day after. So let us close the session for today.
Giriraj Prabhu, we will miss you and have safe flight.
Thank you, Mataji. I'm also going to miss all of you. So thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। जय पुरुष प्रभुपाद की जय। गॉड प्रेमानंदे। हरे हरे बोल। हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्णा।